So my social media has basically just become a documentation of my progression in calisthenics. I want to reach an elite level with it. Still got a very, very long way to go. I mean, if this is an elite level, you can't even see my other hand. That's how far I've got to go. Fitness and training has always been my passion, and I've been training for just over a decade now. But I just found calisthenics relatively recently. And I've only been focusing on it for 9 to 10 months, give or take. So yeah, I want to make a brief video just sort of detailing my training background and how I got to where I am now. Sorry, hold on, it is bloody cold. Oh yeah, okay. So, straight out of the womb, I was a tiny little tot. 3 kgs of pure skin and bones. And I used to have these big puppy eyes. But don't let those puppy eyes fool you, because I was a naughty little shit. I always managed to find the hidden sweets or slip 1 or 2 extra chocolates into the shopping trolley. And I had a major liking for condensed milk. I mean, I could down a can so bloody fast. I mean, also when you're a kid, right, health isn't even a thought. You just want to eat nice things. So those factors compounding, by the time I finished primary school, I had what can only be described as the chubbiest of cheeks. I mean, I did play sport in primary school, but I was pretty bad at all of it. And all I really cared about was condensed milk. All that like jumping jack, white cheddar, popcorn, that was also brilliant. Skipping through the formative years, right, I basically just became quite a chubby kid. I don't have to try explain puberty to any of you, but as you reach your teenage years, you start becoming a little bit more self-conscious and aware, getting a bit of interest in girls and all of that sort of thing. So going into high school, I wasn't exactly the picture of self-confidence, and I came from a very small primary school, so going to a big high school is quite a daunting prospect. In the beginning, we had to do these fitness tests, or this athletic test, whatever you want to call it, and I was atrocious. We had to do push-ups, and I couldn't do a push-up. I mean, if my chest touched the floor, I wasn't coming back up. We did the 100 meters, 20 seconds. Pathetic. Usain Bolt could run that way, he could lap me, and then he could take a selfie with me basically almost puking my lungs out. After the athletic testing, I was quite embarrassed and ashamed, and at that young age, egos are flaring and stuff, and kids can be quite mean. So I got teased a little bit, got bullied, nothing hectic. But yeah, it was a bit rough, and then one day it was quite a bad day, and I remember coming home and just being like, fuck this, why am I allowing myself to stay here? I know I can just get better, I just have to train. And I don't know why it took me so long to just have that epiphany, but it was like a switch in my head, and literally I just started training like some demented person. I didn't know what I was doing, I had no knowledge about health fitness, all I knew was the shows I watched. I would just run, I would pick up bricks, I convinced my parents to buy me a boxing bag, and I would just hit that thing. I didn't have gloves. I remember I used to punch it for like, I'm not joking, I would punch it for maybe an hour, 2 hours. I would be bleeding from my knuckles, and in my head I was just like, yes, this is good, pain is good. In my early days I could barely run a kilometer, but I would run until I couldn't run, then I'd walk, then the next time I'd try to run further, then I'd try to run faster. And yeah, throughout my grade 8, grade 9, I just trained like some sort of weird freak. Immediately cold turkey stopped condensed milk and all that good stuff, and I just basically starved myself, because once again I had no knowledge on how you should train or nutrition, anything like that. The only saving grace was that I was so young, so that I didn't like completely screw up my body, because the hormones and everything, like you recover quite quick. But I basically starved myself, and I just trained day in and day out. And by the time I was like 16 years old, I basically stripped all that fat off, all that childlike baby fat, and I was just skin and bones again. And my parents noticed how hard I was training, so they decided for my birthday to get me a gym membership. And I was like, ooh, this is a game changer. So yeah, I kept up the like relentless schedule. I'd get up in the morning and I'd go swim before school. Then I'd come home, I'd lift weights, I'd run in the evening, continue to starve myself. Fast forward a little bit, I decided I wanted to start playing sport again, and I wanted to play rugby. Now, like I said, I was pretty bad at sports. The only thing I going for me was that I sort of liked physical contact and I enjoyed tackling people. But I was skin and bones, so I'm like, I can only do so much when you weigh like 50 kgs, right? I need to put on weight. And then I sort of went 180 and decided, well, now I've got to force feed myself. So I would eat everything. I would still lift weights, I'd still train, all of that sort of thing. And I remember I used to watch like the early YouTubers, Steve Cook, Bradley Martin, and try to learn exercises. And then I'll just copy them lifting weights. My head, for some reason, was just mass is good. You need to get bigger because you're going to play against big guys. You're not a massive tall guy. You need to get as big as you can if you want to go up against these guys that are, 2 meters, all of this. Now, Yes, like strength and muscle matters, but fitness is the biggest thing. Like if you're just fit in high school, you can go really, really far. In my head, I'm like, no, 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 no. Fitness comes second. We need to get big. And I can be quite stubborn and refuse to listen to people when I make up my mind, which is something I think I've gotten better at. But when I was younger, like, oh, I'm not a dumb person. However, it definitely comes across that I neglect my intelligence. I think that's a good way to put it. Regardless, right? By the time I finished matric, I was quite a big boy again, quite a chunky monkey. By the time I finished playing rugby, where's that photo? Yeah. Oh my god, sorry, every time I see this, I'm like, damn, bloody hell, man. Whew, I was a big boy. So there was a time period where I went to my best friend's house and we had a braai there and we had cheesecake and stuff. And I remember weighing myself and I was 99.8. If we eat another slice of cheesecake, we might get to triple digits. Force fed myself another slice and I went to weigh myself and I was 100.1. Once in my life, I weighed 100 kilograms. And like you can see, bloody, oh, I was a big boy. Hi, it's a future me. I forgot to say that so a year after high school playing rugby, I got a bad concussion. I was out for a couple months. When I first came back, I tore my hamstring and I was off for a bit longer. But then I did realize that there's benefit to actually being fast and being able to accelerate your weight into someone as opposed to just being heavy. So I decided to focus more on fitness and I started losing a bit of weight. I was 98 Ks around there and I ended up coming down to about 88 Ks. In senior club rugby, I mean, I was playing with some big dudes, some like real guys built like tanks. But yeah, I realized that fitness actually plays a lot bigger of a role as just size. So when I stopped rugby, I just wanted to lose all the excess weight and try to get lean. And then I came down to about like 85 or so. So yeah. Injury wise, I had 3 bad concussions in the space of a year. And I was like, no, I need all the brain cells I can get. Like I said, I'm not a dumb person. I just neglect my intelligence sometimes. To give you a short story, once I jumped off my roof with an umbrella. I thought I'd be Mary Poppins and float nice and gently to the ground. No, I sprained my ankle and I got an inside-out umbrella. And I was way too old, old enough to know better. I was 18. Let me just quickly say, I'm joking, by the way, about the 18 years old. I'm joking. Like, I'm sarcastic quite a lot, but for some reason people take me seriously. So yeah, I'm joking. I wasn't 18. I was 19. Decided to step away from rugby. And then I was like, well, I want to sort of train very differently from how I've been. I don't have to play rugby on Saturday, so I don't have to be fresh for Saturday. I can train on Friday. I can train on Saturday. I don't have to deal with the nerves of competing. I was like in Wonderland almost. One day my friend was like, hey, I've entered you in a bodybuilding show. And I was like, no, what you talking about? He's like, no, you're going to do a bodybuilding show. Come on. Eventually he convinced me. Long story short, right, I'm going to skip through all the little details, except for one. I think I may add one story in there. Let me just show you the pictures. Don't let the medal fool you. That ain't gold, that's bronze. And only 3 people showed up. Yeah, I came last, but I still made the podium, so great success. Right, the story. So this is the day after the bodybuilding show. And obviously bodybuilding, it's not a very healthy sport. While you sort of like promoting the best possible physique you can bring, on the inside you're like incredibly unhealthy and dying and deprived. So it's not a very healthy sport. Not that I have anything against it. I much rather prefer to be athletic and enjoy training and feeling like physically strong as opposed to just looking it. And even though I actually think I look better now than I did then, but whatever. So this is the day after I completed the bodybuilding show. So I'm also trying to put water back in my system because when you step on stage, you sort of dehydrated. It was my brother's birthday and we went to an all-you-can-eat sushi. And our friend group used to have this, or we still do it every now and then, this like all-you-can-eat trophy. And we see who can eat the most, who'll decide if it's sushi, wings, or whatever. I pride myself as quite a big eater. I can get quite competitive with it. However, I was severely handicapped because I only had so much water in my system and my stomach was so small from weeks and weeks of eating nothing but fucking hake and rice and broccoli. We were at this sushi restaurant and I'm eating plate off the plate and Kyle, one of my best friends, he's matching me. And then all of a sudden, I feel the sharp pain in my stomach. Oh, something's not good. And I felt this weird like vision going blurry and this lightheadedness. And I'm like, no, just shake it. You fine? Next thing I know, my brother's grabbing me. All my friends are like looking at me. Everyone in the restaurant is staring at me. Apparently, I completely passed out and started like going into a seizure. I had no recollection. I just thought I successfully avoided blacking out. I ate so much that I went into a fit. It's when there's too little water in your body and you eat a lot in one sitting. Your body draws blood from your brain and all of that to digest that food, or water to digest that food, which, drop, and then all of a sudden you pass out. Then it was COVID. And during COVID, I decided I wanted to learn how to do a backflip. That started the whole acrobatics/tricking saga, which is the sport I wanted to try to do. That's something I still want to do a little bit because I really love doing flips. But as a child, I loved Spider-Man because of the flips and the agility and all of that. I started trying to do all these other flips, broke my arm, messed up my knee 3 times, fractured my wrist, lots of injuries from that. And then as the gyms opened up, all of that, I got into powerlifting. I didn't care to try to compete or anything. I just liked the idea of trying to lift more than I did last time. So I got into powerlifting. I had a couple goals in mind. I didn't hit all of them. I managed to bench 150 once, but then I could never get close to that again. I squatted 220, which I was quite happy about, and my deadlift was only 250. I wanted to get 260, never got there. So I did my whole powerlifting saga, lots of posing during this time frame. I was also a massive caffeine/stimulant junkie at this time, and I'm quite proud. I haven't used pre-workout in almost a year now, which means that when eventually I do use pre-workout again, it's going to hit me so hard. And I'm quite excited about that. I sort of got bored of powerlifting and just bodyboarding and all of that sort of thing. I'm back. Last thing I forgot to say. So yeah, with bodyboarding, I don't know what I weighed when I stepped on stage, but my walk around weight, I was always around 85 or so. Then when I started doing flips, I got all the way down to 80 kilograms. And when I focused on powerlifting, I picked up to 83, 84, somewhere around there. Right now I'm 80 Ks again because I just finished a refeed deload week. And now I'm going to slowly chip down and get to 75, 76 and sort of just stay there. And I think I'll be nice and lean at that weight. But yeah, so I forgot to say my weights. That's what they were. I decided to try to change up my training, and I discovered calisthenics. And now my brother used to actually do handstands and all that stuff back in the day before he got injured. At the time, I was never strong enough to actually try to attempt the stuff he was doing. But I decided, well, I've always messed around with handstands here and there, but then I wouldn't do it for months on end, and I would lose the ability to even hold a handstand. Let's try and make your handstand consistent, and then let's see, maybe you enjoy this. Bloody hell, I am just absolutely hooked. The people I watch, the guys that are at that elite level, for me, it's mesmerizing. It looks like art. I'm like, this is so effing cool. Look at that. I want to do that. There's a part of me that wishes I found it when I was 14. I could have had now so many more years under my belt of training. However, I am quite grateful for the very diverse training background I've had, because I think it's given me quite a solid base and foundation. I can try to do more advanced things and train a bit harder now without the fear of getting injured as much, even though I do take precautions and I'm very keyed up about recovery and avoiding injury now, because the last thing I want to get injured. I'm just happy I found it now. I don't really care too much about competing. That's not really my thing. Also, it's counterproductive, but there's always a few things that I'm going to do. I'm always going to train legs. I'm not going to atrophy myself just to make progress quicker. Also, fitness. Now, calisthenics is a central nervous system sport, so you don't tax your CNS, which high intensity fitness and pushing yourself to exhaustion does do. But I love that, and that's my training route. So when I started training as a 13-year-old, I trained to push myself to exhaustion, and I love the sort of mental battle you have when you do that. So I'll always do that. I'm not going to do it all the time, but that's something that's very important to me that I will keep on doing. I've got no desire to compete against other people. I just want to push myself as hard as I can, see how good I can get. And yeah, I'm excited to see how far I can take it.